Summary of the book, How Successful People Think. In your opinion, is the faculty of critical thinking the secret of success? If you think so, you are right, and you are on the right path to success. In his book How Successful People Think, author and management expert John Maxwell provides a guide to the analytical and reflective habits of strong leaders. Smart thinkers do not necessarily have the highest levels of intelligence, and may not have the highest degrees of science. They simply have good thinking habits. They carefully choose the correct cognitive style to solve various problems. For example, some situations require looking at them from a clearer perspective, to make the picture more general, while there are other situations that need to go deeper into their details. It is not correct to just take a general look at them while addressing them. Achievers have a high ability to easily switch between different styles of thinking. Some situations require quick decisions, while others need a different style, and perhaps the opposite. Looking at the big picture can improve any project. The need to focus on individual tasks, and the details must always be balanced with the long-term vision, and it can be difficult to think about the far future when the present moment is more urgent. Big picture thinking is the ability to look at challenges, projects with all their complexity. For example, a holistic-minded salesperson with a broad horizon of knowledge seeks to build a long-term relationship with customers instead of seeking the short-term instant satisfaction that comes from a one-time sale only. Not all things have the same character and the same circumstance. If we are faced with an issue related to money, of course we must think with impartiality and realism, and so for every position and article, and for every matter a special way of thinking. And here is the role of a successful thinker when he fully knows the proportions, and strives to develop each style his way of thinking, and he always tries to gain cognitive experiences because each project he will work on will have its own uniqueness. Here are the main ideas put forward by the book. The big holistic view. The development of cognitive patterns is a useful investment on the professional and personal levels, and is considered an urgent need and not only a skill, or a hobby as some consider it. Holistic thinkers think in a broad approach, but these thinkers are flexible, receptive to other opinions, and can put themselves in the shoes of others even when it is difficult to do so. For new experiences that expand their vision of things, and their ability to understand things, so we always find that those who have this characteristic are with the category of successful people. Choose the things that are really worth focusing on. Knowing this is half the battle, and of course the same method cannot be applied to all things, and standards and priorities differ between things, and between people. Some people may want to use the 80/20 rule. High productivity activities, while other people may want to focus on one aspect of their work, distributing most of the remaining work to others. One of the obstacles to concentrating is to think through distractions, and through the large number of demands that require work that ends at the same time, which reduces a person's concentration, and makes him in a state of tension and diaspora. People who take time to think and find a way to deal with things can reduce distractions, if only for a limited time. Mental clutter is another obstacle to concentration, but it can be dealt with by setting goals carefully and avoiding multitasking. Often people feel that they are going in too many directions at once, which is detrimental to their focus later. Thinking outside the box. Every profession requires a degree of creativity, and a person is able to connect disparate ideas with each other and create unexpected associations. Creative thinking is not, as many assume, that it is a natural talent that arises with the upbringing of a person, but rather it is more like a muscle that strengthens, grows with repeated use, and gradually atrophies when neglected and not occupied, and this means that the ability to create creativity can be developed and enhanced by following a healthy approach, even among people who do not consider themselves creative thinkers. But knowledge is through learning, and thought is through reflection. The most important characteristic of a creative thinker is boldness. It is not necessary that all ideas succeed, or that all projects succeed, but the possibility of failure should not scare us from failure, as it is an integral part of any work. Creative people have a high risk of failing or appearing unpopular, and they are willing to make suggestions and test ideas that less creative thinkers would reject. Exploring multiple possibilities in this way is better than just settling on one idea that seems safe very early in the brainstorming stage, and some environments promote creativity more than others. For example, team members tend to be more creative when they can be trusted with each other. Creativity thrives in groups when people build their ideas on each other's ideas to create more creative ideas. This meeting of ideas, of course, will benefit the project more than the division of ideas and the transformation of team members into competitors. Belief in one's own abilities. Great leaders can solve problems that might once seemed impossible to others. They are able to do so because they believe in their ability to find workable solutions. They inevitably think of bad ideas and bad outcomes, but they do not allow themselves and their teammates to get caught up in fear and negativity. People who believe in themselves tend to succeed more than others, and the vision of a strong leader towards the future of his organization must be ambitious and achievable. We find many people with timid goals, modest ambitions, and they may be limited. Expanding the boundaries of the goal can enhance its growth, whether that goal belongs to an individual or a group, and good leaders who believe in their competencies and know their goals accurately tend to dream big. Strategic planning. Many people are so busy and distracted that they rarely take the opportunity to plan their lives for the next day or the next week. Successful people have a more strategic mindset than others. They plan a long-term vision, and they implement their plans through an organized and appropriate agenda, based on specific time periods to achieve realistic, and tangible goals. Leaders facing a complex problem can use strategic planning to break it down into less difficult parts of the work. The first task is to make sure that the problem is fully understood, because the assumptions are not always correct. First, we make sure and understand the task, then move on to the second step, which is to evaluate the resources that their use, including time, money, and team members. Strategic planning is known as a renewed endeavor, that is a repetitive and traditional task that will never lead to wonderful and unique results, and that the effort spent in planning, despite its difficulty, inevitably leads to satisfactory results. A clear path, and they know exactly the steps to take along the way. Reflecting on the past and extrapolating the future. The wheel of development in the accelerating world does not give the opportunity for careful reflection, as the greater part of the world is geared towards action, focusing on the steps to be taken later, rather than thinking about what happened before. It is necessary that the experiences of the past remain present, but in the right context. They are to benefit, to learn from mistakes, and to direct the right thoughts in the right direction while avoiding the pitfalls of old experiences. One obstacle to thinking is that it is difficult to admit failure, as people naturally try to flatter themselves, and few have the skill and courage to be self-critical, but the act of thinking itself can help diffuse that embarrassment and disappointment by turning a bad outcome into a benefit. To teach values. A byproduct of thinking is that it can help leaders make more confident decisions. Self-doubt is not a good quality in a leader, especially when quick, decisive, and necessary action is required. Reflective thinking also gives leaders a bank of thoughtful experience to draw on when the need is greatest, and the matter is urgent. Challenge the status quo. Everyone should strive for a natural state of positive skepticism rather than accepting current circumstances in all their default. Asking questions becomes easier with instilling a culture of doubt. Leaders who are willing to face doubt from people, even anger from people who don't want change, and much more. There are people who do not like to think, and prefer the ease of adopting the prevailing consensus. Good critical thinkers are always willing to make the effort to form an independent opinion. There are times when the status quo is morally unjust, such as when women did not have the right to vote in the United States, and women only obtained that right through political agitation, which it upset a lot of people in the community at that time. The power of cooperating with others. Collaborative thinking benefits from the depth of collective experience of team members, and can benefit from all the lessons and experiences learned by team members in working life and social life, which is useful in solving problems, or discovering defects, and relying on someone else's experience faster than trying to learn a new skill. Group thinking requires deliberate collaboration, which means choosing the right team. Sometimes the source of cooperation stems from friendship, or knowledge, and friendliness, but it is better to choose team members according to what they offer, and based on their skills. Put the needs of others before their own. It is normal to focus on your achievement, but truly successful leaders are not selfish. and devote some of their time to serving others. There are several ways to develop the skill of putting others at the forefront, one of which is to constantly search for ways to add value to others, whether it is for an organization, a person's life, or society as a whole, in addition to reducing the importance of any sense of self-importance, while not completely denying it to people. A natural tendency to think of themselves as the center of the universe, so looking at people and society with a look of humility and balance contributes to disciplining the soul, accustoming it to feeling for them, and helping them. The process of improving the ability to think sometimes requires hard work, and requires expertise, many experiences, and a continuous evaluation of all these experiences, and anyone can improve their ability to think, of course, if they strive hard, in addition to, of course, to possess the seeds of talent, and to have the ability to reconsider to his old way of thinking repeatedly, and to seek to develop it, not to stand on its ruins, to read and search for the ideas of other thinkers, and to review their projects to serve as an exhibition of experiments for him, so that he acquires realistic experience, and learns from the mistakes of others. And the thinker must be positively curious, be curious about knowledge, so the process of learning does not happen in vain.